Welcome to a very special edition of ENN News. I am Leslie Schaefer.
And I'm Drew Patrick. Along with your weekly campus news, we are going to go in depth with the events that transpired last Monday.
On Monday, November 17th, an off-campus shooting took place blocks away from Edinburgh University. The campus was put into an almost immediate lockdown, and students, faculty, and staff were not allowed out of campus buildings until police deemed it safe. Messages were sent to students via E2 Campus and email as well. Emails were also sent home to parents regarding the situation. We will cover more of this topic later on in the newscast.
In lighter news, the students of Edinburgh University were able to see live snakes, lizards, and turtles as a part of HERP's Alive Reptiles and Amphibians exhibit at the Pogue Student Center. HERP is short for Herpetology, the study of reptiles, and it is an Ohio-based organization that travels the world to educate students about reptiles as well as act as a rescue for some of the more endangered reptiles. During the event, students were allowed to see, pet, and even hold some of the many reptiles on display.
I sat down with a professor in the English department this past week as he was working his way around the campus medias to promote his new book. Here's a look. We have a special guest here with us. He is an Edinburgh University professor in the Department of English and Liberal Studies. He is here today to promote his recently published book, Infinite Drift. According to the press release, Infinite Drift tells the story of cosmologist Dr. Eggers Mortensen, who discovers how to turn the multi-universe into one giant cloud-like computer processor. To give us a little more in-depth look at Infinite Drift, I would like to now welcome the author, Dr. Jeffrey Bartone. How are you doing today, Professor?
I'm doing great.
That's good. So let's go a little bit more in depth, and could you give a more elaborate synopsis of Infinite Drift?
Absolutely. This book is pretty much a rags to riches tale, which everybody loves, because we often, especially in America, hold that dream. Well, when the book opens, Dr. Eggers Mortensen basically kind of gives up, I don't say gives up on life, but he focuses all of his life on developing his idea of infinite drift. And it's actually an apocalyptic idea, the idea that eventually the whole universe is going to become deconstructed. And infinite drift means that things can move without respect to time, so that you just have no way of predicting where things are going to be. And so he goes up there and he works out his theory, and it turns out the opposite happens, that instead of it being predictive of the end of the universe, it ends up being a way for him to tap into the multiverse, remove time as a variable, and just use the whole thing as a huge computer, which means if you can envision something or imagine it, you can do it. So he returns to New York, starts this notorious corporation called X Plus Corporation, and it becomes the biggest corporation on the earth, on the planet, and he becomes the wealthiest individual. And of course, then he just, what would any of us do?
Don't want to give too much away.
No, but yeah. Would anybody be mature enough, maybe at my age, but, would anybody be mature enough to have all that power and wealth and not start to get a little wonky?
Yeah, just a bit. And every book has a theme. What would you say the theme of this book would be?
Well, basically, there are a number of themes. You want to have a dominant theme, but you also want to have a lot of themes working together. And one of the themes that this book plays with, and I love, in all my work, I love to just play with themes. I don't like to preach, I don't like to instruct. I just like to take a theme and really just work it over. And one of the themes really relates to what's happening in our world today, which is what price will we pay for success? And again, I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say that when he does begin to do experiments on tapping into the multiverse as a computer processor, he gets some anomalies and finds out that it may not be totally safe. And so eventually he has to make it. Every book has a conflict or a moral ethical decision that the main character has to make. So he's got to decide, should I go forward with this, with the potential of doing to the universe what we're already doing to our planet,
Yeah.
And what price will we pay for progress? Because the progress here is phenomenal. We can have.
If you would like to see the entire interview, go to youtube.com/EdinburghTV. And when we come back, Tracy Geibel will explain what's been going on inside the White House and a Jewish synagogue. Stay with us.
Welcome to Global News. I am Tracy Geibel. On Thursday night, President Obama announced his immigration plan. He intends to use his executive power to continue getting felons deported while protecting undocumented immigrants with families in the United States. This plan will allow immigrants to receive work permits and be exempt from deportation for 3 years at a time when going through the proper procedures. According to NBC News, Republicans in Congress are unhappy about Obama's plan, arguing that he is overstepping constitutional authority. 4 Jewish worshippers and a police officer were killed on Tuesday when 2 Palestinians attacked the men in the synagogue. The police officer was attempting to stop the attack when he himself was fatally wounded. Other members of the synagogue plan to continue their worship. When we return, Chief Weather Forecaster Dorian Churn will give his last forecast for the semester.
And welcome back, everyone. I'm Chief Weather Forecaster Dorian Churn, and yes, this is my last weathercast, but the weather doesn't stop even after I'm gone. So let's take a look at the maps, and basically, as we're getting prepared for the holidays, we have a low pressure system in Illinois that's going to be pushing this cold front up north. So we will have some warm temperatures in the beginning of the school week. However, that's all going to change drastically as we get to Tuesday and Wednesday. And let's take a look at the 7-day forecast. We're going to start on Monday. We have rain showers in the Edinboro region. Once the rain showers subdue, we will have cloudy skies, but high temperatures 58 degrees with a low of 31. Yeah, take a good long look at that 58. We're not going to see that for a while. Tuesday, once the cold front goes by, we will have rain showers develop in the areas, but then it will transition into snow showers. Highs 36 with a low of 26 degrees. And let's say it one more time, folks. Wednesday, hump day. We have sunny clouds in the Edinboro region, highs 34 with a low of 27 degrees. And on Thursday, as we get ready for Thanksgiving, everybody is spending time with friends and family. We're going to have snow showers if you're going to stay in the Edinboro regions. Highs 32 with a low of 24 degrees. And on Friday, if you're going to be doing any Black Friday shopping, just be safe out there and make sure you have your jacket, because we're still going to have snow showers in the Edinboro Erie region. Highs 30 with a low of 24 degrees. And let's take a look at that weekend forecast. We still have snow showers on Saturday. Unfortunately, that's going to be the trend for the next couple of days. Temperature is still going to be low, highs 32 with a low of 24 degrees. And on Sunday, when we all return back to school, we will have sunny clouds to start our school week. Highs 28 with a low of 23 degrees. And let's take a look at the final trivia question. What is the Chief Weather Forecaster's famous catchphrase? A, Yah, B, hump day, C, last day of the school week, or D, here's what's happening in your neck of the woods. And if you've been paying attention for the past 13 weeks of the newscast, what do I always say on Wednesday, everybody? It is B, hump day. And I just want to take the time to just say, it's been a fun run. It really has been a fun run. 4.5 years I've been doing the weather for ETV in the Edinboro region, and let me just say it's been amazing, and I'm glad. I've met some of the coolest people. I've interacted with not only just the ETV family, but students throughout campus, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So while my time comes to an end, I'm blessed. So that's all I have to say. Hey, everyone, thank you very much, Edinboro. And after these newscasts, we're going to head back to Leslie and Drew with the news. See you later, everybody.
Welcome back to ENN News. Our top story of the night is the off-campus shooting that took place a week ago today. Drew, let's start with the facts. What do we know?
Well, we know 2 men were involved in this shooting. We know at least 2 men were involved in the shooting. The alleged suspect is Trey Gunter, who's 21, and he was a student here at Edinboro. And the victim is Tobiah Johnson, age 22, and he was a former student here. The shooting took place in an off-campus apartment area, and we know the police are searching for actually a second suspect.
And we also know that he had an arraignment on Tuesday, November 18th, and he's being held without bail pending a preliminary hearing on December 2nd. And from what I hear, he was a communications major here at Edinburgh University, and he was set to graduate in May, but according to KDKA News, he is now being held for criminal homicide, aggravated assault, and reckless endangerment charges.
Yeah, authorities are, like I said, looking for a second suspect involved in the case, and they're also looking for the murder weapon. As police say, there was another person involved, and the whole incident happened over a stolen gun. Police believe that Gunner and an unidentified male punched Johnson and then beat him with the gun and then shot him. So just a horrible incident here.
It's a very tragic story. And we also have learned from KDKA News that Trey Gunter and Tobias Johnson were related to the Pittsburgh area, and Trey worked at the PNC Park, at the baseball park in Pittsburgh, and he was thought highly of at home, but people are upset there now that he has ended up in jail. So it's a very tragic situation. And coming up, we have a tell-all when we explain where we were at the night of the shooting and the students' reactions to the lockdown.
Welcome back to the special report of ENN News, where Leslie and I discuss what happened over the course of 1 week since the off-campus shooting that left the university in a state of caution as the police investigated. Leslie, where were you when you received the E2 campus message?
It's funny you asked, Drew. I was actually here inside our control room in the news station when I received the first text message from E2 campus saying that there was off-campus police action and to remain in caution. And it was a pretty scary situation at first, but where were you at?
Yeah, I was actually in Macomb Fieldhouse. There was a men's basketball game. Edinburgh faced Penn State Greater Allegheny, and I was actually doing highlights for the game, so I had the camera set up very close to the door when I first got the off-campus shooting text, which at the time I really didn't think a lot of it. Just simply because, again, I was in Macomb and this was an off-campus incident. But then about a half an hour or so later, we got the second text that said there was an emergency lockdown. So at that point, I immediately called my parents and said, I want to let you guys know what's going on because I know you're going to get a message as well, and I don't want you to react right now. I'm in Macomb, which I feel like at the time was probably the safest building on campus because there were police at every exit, every entrance. So, I mean, in hindsight is 2020, so we know that, again, Trey Gunter, or the alleged shooter, wasn't going around and shooting just anyone on campus, but I felt like in that moment I was definitely in one of the safest buildings on campus.
Yeah, I felt as though I was a little bit in shock at first, and as I walked back to Pogue, I couldn't help but think, campus shooting, gunman still at large is what the text message has said. Is this going to be a mass shooting? And that's what I think about whenever it's a college situation. But I made my way back to Pogue, and that's where I stayed for the next 3 hours.
Yeah, and it was about since from that lockdown, it was almost 2 hours before the police started escorting students back to their dorm rooms. From that text actually went out at 10:02 is where the text went out. When they started bringing back, 10 minutes later, an EMTA bus was allowed to pick up students and bring them back. And then the lockdown finally ended at 11:43 p.m. when everyone got that text. I remember we were one of the first to get escorted back because, that's where all the police were. There was a huge group of them gathered around Macomb before they started escorting people back to their dorms. And I was one of the first groups since I'm Highlands 8, so I didn't see a lot of what happened after that, but I was home rather quick.
Nor did I, and I was home as quick as well. And just for everybody's benefit, the Edinburgh University posted a Facebook page, posted on their Facebook page saying that although federal law prohibits the public disclosure of student disciplinary actions, the Student Code of Conduct gives the university the authority to immediately suspend any student who presents a danger to the campus community. The safety of our campus community will always be our #1 priority. And I feel the university did just that. So when we come back, Drew and I will wrap it up with how the university has helped in this scary situation, and we will send it over to Tyler Trumbauer for your Fighting Scots Sports Report.
Thank you for watching this special report of ENN News. Leslie, we talked about the facts and the reaction of students. Do you feel that E2 campus was an effective way of getting everyone's attention on the situation when it happened just blocks away from campus?
I feel E2 campus is a very effective way of getting the information out there of what students need to know, students, faculty, and staff, on what is happening on campus or outside of campus for this purpose. And I honestly, as a student, I honestly don't know what I would do without this system, because if we didn't have any messages come to us, we wouldn't have known what was going on. I wouldn't have known what was going on a block away from Compton Hall.
Yeah.
So I feel it's a very effective way of getting information out there.
Now, this was just one of the ways that the university responded to this. But again, we don't agree with everything that was done. We both agree that the lockdown was a very appropriate thing to do in this situation because, again, hindsight's 20/20, so we know this was an isolated incident now, but at the time,
we didn't.
And frankly, everyone was scared. When you hear shooting, or when you hear that there's a shooting, you don't know, and you go through this state of a panic. So I thought the lockdown was a very good thing, and I mean, a lot of students weren't happy because it took away their freedom for the moment and they couldn't leave, but it's better to be overly cautious, which in this case I don't think they were even overly cautious, but it's better to be that than to put a bunch of students in danger.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel that with classes resuming the next day as well, I disagree on that part, but there is a state of a panic the next day whenever you still know that there is a suspect out there still lurking around, and we didn't gain any confirmation yet on if he was caught or not. But now that we know that the alleged shooter has been captured and is in custody, I feel very safe now to walk across campus as I normally do.
Yeah, and definitely the day after, when the university said that, again, students could go back to class, you could hear the silence just around campus. It was a very, very almost surreal kind of sight to see the campus so quiet. And again, I think part of it, that the reason that the university did want a lot of students to go to class is kind of get that feeling of normality back. You had this crazy, tragic event happen the day before, and it was just a good way to get back. Again, a lot of students didn't want to go back to classes, some out of fear, because again, the shooter at the beginning of the day wasn't caught. So we didn't know.
I feel like teachers would give leisure to this kind of situation as well.
Yeah, and teachers were very, very lenient with this situation. And also the university opened counseling services at the Gearing Health Center for any student who really just wanted to talk about what happened and just needed a guiding hand. So the university did a lot of things that really helped this situation and that I liked.
Yeah. Well, when we return, Tyler Trumbauer will give you all your borough athletic happenings in his Fighting Scots Sports Report.